Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Integrity IPG podcast. My name is Jordan Pahalik, and I am with co-host Dylan Wepkenberg.
How's it going, everybody?
How are you doing, Dylan?
I'm hanging in there. I'm pretty excited, actually, because I'm going to be escaping the Michigan cold later this week and going to Arizona, so it'll be a nice change of pace for me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Not going to Arizona, so a little jealous on that front. But excited. We got another exciting episode for you guys here today. We're going to be talking about money is a tool, not a goal. So when you hear that, what's one of the first things that comes to your mind?
Well, I guess it makes me think that if you have some sort of dollar amount in your head as like a goal, this is what I want to eventually reach, that type of thing is only ever going to change and move and get bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't seem like when you were to say, my goal is $1 million, once you get to that point, most people just want more and more and more. It's just an ever moving target. So I think we think it's better to think of money as a tool rather than a goal. It's something that you use to achieve things, buy things, live your life, but it's not necessarily the ultimatum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more because, I mean, with that tool, right, with that, right, if it's this goal and your goal is to make $200,000 a year, if you're getting an increase in your pay or you're getting raises, what does that usually come with? That comes with more responsibility or time commitment. And if there's emotional aspects that brings, whether it's more stress, less time with your family, your relationships are being hindered, is that all that really worth it, right? Because then you're going to say, okay, well, now if I make $300,000, it'll all be worth it. And like you said, that's just moving the goalposts, infinitely, and you're kind of chasing something or chasing happiness when, it might be hard to find. I have a question for you that kind of shows this is, if you got $10 million today, but your relationships didn't change, your health didn't change, your stress didn't change, you had no more time coming in, would you really feel that wealthy?
No, I don't know how I could. That's a good question. Yeah, I guess I would, on the surface, I might think that, getting $10 million is a pretty darn good thing and it would help me a lot and change things pretty substantially. But if you're making a stipulation that things aren't different, they're the same, your relationships are the same, your health is the same, your freedom is the same. If that's the case, then being $10 million richer doesn't do a whole lot for me, because those things are what matters more. If that's my actual life. So yeah, I wouldn't feel too much more rich than I do already.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's kind of funny coming from the financial planners, right? Because our goal is to help you, make as much money as you can and save as much money as you can. But there is a human and emotional aspect to things. And even in our job, I feel like that's one of the things that we find and make very important and apparent early on when we talk to people is, they don't come in and we talk instantly about finances. What have you been making this year? How's everything sitting? How are you doing? What do you have coming up? What are some of your goals that you have for this year?
Right. Coming into a conversation with a client and just asking them, all right, how much money do you have to give us that we can manage and then charge you for, is like, that serves nobody any good. Obviously, it makes a lot more sense to try and connect with someone on a real personal human level, learn what their goals other than money are, and then sort of make the financial plan work around that rather than their life work around the financial plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, 100% agree.
And like that $10 million question that Jordan just asked, once I answer it for myself, it kind of helps me identify what actually does matter. What are my real goals in life? And if, through the answer I gave, $10 million, if I don't have freedom, if my relationships are strained or not great, then it wouldn't make a difference. So it's clear to me that those are what actually matters, not having $10 million in the bank.
Yeah. And that's something that, you got to think about. It's really net worth versus, satisfaction in life. Net worth is a number, right? We can obviously track it. It's, asset minus liabilities. It's tough to really do that with, your time or your relationships or your health, but they go hand in hand. You don't enjoy life without that later stuff, excuse me. So,
Totally.
yeah, I mean, the next question would be, financial freedom versus lifestyle inflation. I know lifestyle inflation is a big thing, right? When you get more money, or you hear the term keeping up with the Joneses, it's easy to kind of fall in that rabbit hole of, getting the next best thing and, keep upgrading stuff.
Right.
But what does that kind of have an effect on when it comes to, financial freedom down the road and, securing that long-term wealth?
Yeah, it's kind of it's something that we had mentioned maybe in a previous episode, but the idea of lifestyle creep, it's a very real thing that people don't know it's happening to them because it happens over the span of 5, 10, 15 years. Then it's a day-by-day type of thing. But what it is on a broader scale is that it's the phenomenon that somebody's financials won't change unless they actually implement a plan. So if you have no plan in place right now and you start earning more money 5, 10, 15 years down the road, all of that stuff will just be amplified to a larger degree, rather than changing it. So that's just one of the things that we like to talk about, is that you need to have a plan in place or actual strategy for your current dollars so that when new dollars come in, they already have like an assignment or they know what to do. Otherwise, your life will the lifestyle creep will just take all those new dollars and amplify what you've been currently doing.
Yeah. Again, and I think that all ties into it being a tool and not a goal, when money is the goal, right? And the thing that everything is centered around. It's easy to kind of do some of that stuff with lifestyle inflation and
Totally, yeah.
having that creep in. When you think of it as a tool and something that can help, benefit the things that matter to you in life, whether it's relationships or, stress, that's when your money is really working for you, because it's bringing, the best out of you. So,
Yep. And this is also a very real thing that we see with our own clients. There's a huge difference between spenders and savers. And for the savers, I mean, in general, it's a good thing to be a saver because it's easier to do so. You don't have to work as hard at it. But it's a very real problem that they can have sometimes in retirement, where they need to flip on the spending switch. They did all the saving their whole life and put all the hard work in. And now that they're in retirement, it's like a mental switch that needs to be flicked. And sometimes a lot of people that have been savers their whole life have a really difficult time flipping that switch. So that's just another thing that we'd like to help our clients try to work out.
yeah. And something that I think is crazy and people might not realize is that we've seen people making, $250,000 a year that are kind of miserable. They feel stuck and they're not happy and all this. And then there's people that make, $60K a year and they're living their best life. They're one of the happiest people you can run into. And,
Right.
And so it just shows to prove that it's not an end goal. It's
Totally.
a stepping stone. It's something that can help bring you happiness, but it's not the ultimate thing that will.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, and we like to say, a lot of times wealth can be measured monetarily, but really it's what brings it when it comes to, opportunity, whether it's time, having the availability and flexibility to, do what you want when you want, and just having the control to be able to do those things.
Yeah, I feel like we've almost been presenting these things like it's one or the other. Like you either have a plan or the alternative is to just have lifestyle creep happen. It's not necessarily that you need to do one or the other. But if you have a plan in place, then that at least gives you the option to do one or the other. So if you have a plan in place and you're saving 20% of your income, then at retirement, if you want to keep working, you can, that's fine. But if you don't want to, then at least you have the option to retire, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Because we talk to people and like on a normal basis, there's people that, you get to retirement age, which is around 65, and they don't want to stop working. They have
Right.
no idea what they would do after. You work for 40 years. What are you like? The thoughts that are going through your head of, what am I just going to sit around and, do nothing? It's scary.
And that type of person might be listening to this right now and thinking, see, these guys are silly. I'm not that person. They're not describing me. They're describing somebody else. I want to keep working. What we're saying is, no, we actually are describing you. We're just saying that if this is you, you at least have the option to retire. If you're the person who's 65 and you're still working and you enjoy it and you love it and you don't see any reason to stop, that's just as well. But we just want you to at least have the option to retire if that changes like that.
Yeah. And it's important to have that option as well, not for the fact that like you have control and you know what, you wake up one day and say, you know, I want to be done. I want to, you know, go travel or do the hobbies that I enjoy more often. But from a health standpoint too, we're not all going to be healthy forever. And having the option to walk away gives you a great opportunity, because some people, you know, if you don't plan for things, you might not have the option to walk away when you're sick later on in your life. So creating that plan kind of gives you the comfortability of like, okay, if something happens to me, I can step away and I'll be okay.
Yep, exactly.
And there's some big comfort in that. It's also important to, you know, align your spending with your values. So if I had to ask you, Dylan, what would you say is 2 or 3 of the most important things in your life?
My family, my health, and my job, probably.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
Yeah. So if we were to, you know, let's say we cracked into your bank statement, pull it out here and said, you know, let's look at it. Would that portray those same values? Would we look at that and be like, you know, these are the 3 most important things?
No, not even close.
Yeah.
Not close, right?
Yeah, which is important, right? Because you want the money you're spending, the hard-earned money you're making and willing to spend, you want to spend it on the things that you value and care about most. And I think for all of us, including me too, it's easy to kind of get away from that. But that's when you find fulfillment, is when you're, you know, using it as a tool to spend on the people and the things you care most about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more on that. And you just have like the mindset shift. We don't want people to be thinking, let me just accumulate this much wealth and then I can check that off and be good to go. What we really want you to do is treat it more as a tool. So basically what we're trying to say is we're trying to emphasize that money isn't a goal. We don't want people to just have some number in the back of their head and they think that if they can just accumulate that much wealth from now until retirement, then they'll be good to go. It's a lot more nuanced than that. And we just want people to sort of have the mindset shift into that money isn't a goal, it's a tool, and it's something that we use to enjoy life and help others, help our families, and that whole thing. So,
yeah, and it's obviously important to grow your wealth. That pretty much wraps up episode 2 of the Integrity IPG podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
A financial plan is a tool to help guide financial decisions, but it does not guarantee success or specific investment outcomes. Market risk, economic conditions, and individual circumstances can affect results. Securities offered through the ON Equity Sales Company, member FINRA/SIPC, One Financial Way, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45242, 513-794-6794. Investment advisory services offered through ON Investment Management Company.